Rucker Park is a famous basketball court in Harlem, New York. It is located at 155th Street and Frederick Douglass Boulevard. The court is named after Harlem teacher and former playground director for New York City Parks named Holgram L. Rucker. He started a basketball tournament in the 1950s in order to help less fortunate kids stay off the street and aim for college careers. So when you think of the greatest basketball players of all time, who do you think of? Michael Jordan? Wilt Chamberlain? Larry Bird? Well, believe it or not, some of the greatest players to ever play the game of basketball never played in the NBA, like Earl Manigault, or Joe Hammond, and Pee Wee Kirkland. They all grew up in New York and showcased their talent at the famous Rucker Park. Rucker Park was built in 1946 and became a basketball hotspot by the early 1970s. Rucker Park will hold tournaments for the best basketball players in the Mid-Atlantic region. Players from all over the country would attend. Eventually, even some of the best NBA players would attend, like Wilt Chamberlain, Connie Hawkins, and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. When Kareem Abdul-Jabbar was retiring from basketball, they asked him a single question.
Is only as great as the opposition he played against, and you are a great player. And I got thinking about the players you played against: Wilt, Baylor, West, Magic, Dr. J. They go on and on. Now here it is. I want one answer only. Who was the guy that brought chills up and down your spine when he came onto the floor? The greatest player you ever saw.
Well, if I was limited to just one, geez, that would have to be the GOAT.
Earl the Goat Manigault was born on September 7, 1944. He is most well known as the greatest player who never played in the NBA. The most popular belief on his nickname, the GOAT, was that it stood for greatest of all time. Manigault was known for his incredible shooting ability and his amazing jumping ability, which he claimed to gain from wearing ankle-building strength weights while playing basketball throughout his childhood. Even though he was only 6'1", it's told that he had a 52-inch vertical.
Could be a good, what, 14, 15 feet. You always been able to jump like this? Yeah, think you could do it again?
Not for free, you can.
All right, I'll pay to see.
For 20, he'll make change on the way down. So, you snatch that shit, we got buku cash for members' hooky party.
All right.
We gotta talk.
At the age of 17, most people say that he had already mastered the game of basketball. He was credited with creating several new dunks, which included his favorite dunk, the double dunk. Manigault played in Rucker tournaments often and would dominate many pro NBA players. He was offered scholarships by hundreds of colleges. But he started using heroin, and his life went downhill. He ended up in prison for robbery. He was released 7 years later and stayed clean, never to return to drugs or prison. He's dedicated himself to helping kids stay in school and stay clean through his walk away from drug tournaments. Another great basketball player that could have easily been great in the NBA is street legend Joe the Destroyer Hammond. Hammond never played a single high school or college basketball game. After dropping out of high school in the 9th grade, he was always seen either playing basketball or shooting dice. Hammond was one of the most naturally talented basketball players ever. When the Knicks coach at the time went to go see him play, he described it as, the game just comes so effortlessly to him. He was a pure scorer and set a single game record at Rucker, scoring 82 points. 82 points. But this wasn't even his most notable accomplishment. His most notable accomplishment was during a championship game when he showed up late at halftime, and in the second half dropped 50 points on Dr. J. Hammond was offered an NBA contract from the Lakers but declined it because there was not a no-cut clause. Later, he also received a contract from the Knicks, but also declined that offer because of his addiction to gambling. Hammond said that when he and Pee Wee Kirkland played on the same team at Rucker, it was impossible to beat them. Richard Pee Wee Kirkland is one of the best point guards to ever play basketball. He was lightning quick. In fact, he was so fast, people said he could run the length of a basketball court in 3 seconds flat. He is known for his famous basketball rivalry with NBA great Tiny Archibald at Rucker Park. He received a full scholarship to attend Kittrell College, where he averaged 41 points per game. In 1969, he was drafted by the Chicago Bulls, but declined the offer because he said he could make more money as a drug dealer. His exact statement was, "Why go to the NBA? I can make that amount of money in a couple of days in the streets." Not only that, but Pee Wee Kirkland was an extremely flashy person. It said that he would show up to Rucker Park in a Rolls Royce. Well, drug dealing eventually landed him in jail, but he continued to make a name for himself by scoring 135 points in a single prison league game. When he was released from jail, he became a reformed man and started his School for Skills program, which is now sponsored by Nike, which helps kids make good decisions and develop good self-esteem. Although Manigault, Hammond, and Kirkland never played a single game in the NBA, they should still be considered as some of the greatest players to ever play basketball. Not only were they great basketball players, but they changed the game of basketball with their amazing skill, flair, and athletic abilities. If it was not for these great street ball legends, Rucker Park surely would not have become a basketball hotspot.
Hold on, wait a minute. Y'all thought I was finished?
Here is some recent footage from Rucker Park.